Okay, question 113. In problem 112, he used his understanding of two different properties, the commutative property of addition and the associative property of addition. The commutative property of addition allows him to arrange 24 plus 3 plus negative 4 plus negative 7 in different orders, such as 24 plus negative 4 plus 3 plus 7. So they just switched around the order of that, and that's okay to do because we have these plus signs in between. The associative property of addition allows him to group numbers in different ways. So instead of adding from left to right, he can add in two groups and then combine them like this. So anytime we talk about associative property, we're talking about this word of grouping, which is important here. And anytime we're talking about grouping stuff, we're going to use parentheses to group them. So talk with your team about the commutative property of addition. Does it work for other operations such as multiplication, division, and subtraction can be done in any order? Be ready to explain this with your group. So let's just give us some numbers and let's see here. So let's say I have 2. So let's do multiplication first. If I have 2 times 3 times 5, I want to know commutative. Can I mix these around and do I get the same answer? So if I do this way, I get 6 times 5 is 30. And let's see, if I switch these around and do a 3 first, and then times that by a 5, then multiply that by 2, I just switch the order. Do I still get the same answer? 3 times 5 is 15, or 3 times 5 is 15, times 2 is 30. So yeah, so commutative property works for multiplication. So that's good. So let's see. Let's erase this. So now let's see if it works for division. All right, let's see. Let's do this. So let's do 24 divided by 6 divided by 2. All right. So if we do this, I get 24 divided by 6 is 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So if I switch these around, whoops, that is a 2. If I switch these around, the question is, do I still get the same thing? So let's see. So let's just switch the order. If I do 2 divided by 24 and then divide that by 6, do I still get 2? Well, let's see. 2 divided by 24. So I take 2 and I split up in 24 pieces. Do a little work here. 2 divided by 24 gives me a decimal. So 0.08333 repeating forever. Then divide that by 6. It's not going to give me a 2. So division, you cannot switch the order around and get the exact same thing. So division is not commutative. Now we want to know, is subtraction commutative? All right, well, let's try something. Let's try 2 minus 6 minus 10 minus 4. Okay. Then let's just switch some things around. So let's put a 10 here, and then a minus, and then a 2, and then a minus, and then a 4, and then a 6. So I'm taking these numbers, using the same number, just switching them around. That's what commutative property is all about. So let's see if we get the same answers or not. First thing I'm going to do is change my sign. So plus negative 6. This becomes a plus negative 10, and this becomes plus negative 4. So let's see, I'm going to add up all my negatives first. So this gives me negative 16, negative 4 is negative 20, and then a so I have negative 20, and then I have a positive 2, which is going to give me a negative 18 if I do it this way. Now I switched them around, so let's see what we get. So this becomes a negative 2, this becomes a negative 4, that becomes a negative 6. All right, so let's see what we get here. Negative 2 and negative 4 is negative 6. Negative 6 and negative 6 is a negative 12. And I take care of all my negatives, so this and this and this, and I still have a positive 10. When I put these together, I end up with a negative 2. So we don't get the same answer for commutative property for subtraction. So commutative property works for multiplication. It also works for addition. Those are the only two that we can switch stuff around and the order isn't going to matter. So the next thing that we want to, talk about is this thing called associative property. And with associative property, I want to explain what that is. Let's just say we have like 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. All right. And associative property is a little bit different. So I'm going to show you this. So we're going to write down the exact same numbers in the exact same order. So first of all, that's how it's different from commutative property, because our numbers will be in the exact same order. And associative property says we're going to group them differently. So here's what I'm going to do first. I'm going to group this and this, and I'm going to group this and this. All right, so notice both here and here, they're in the same order. I'm just grouping them differently. And then in this one, notice my parentheses are in a different spot. So they're written in the exact same order. The only difference is my grouping symbols are in different places. So let's see if we get the same answer if we do this. This gives me 5 plus 9, which will be 14. So I just did what's in the parentheses first. That gives me 5. That gives me 9, because we always do what's in parentheses first. 5 plus 9 is 14. All right, for this one, we do what's in parentheses first. That gives me 7. And then I'm going to rewrite everything else. And 2 plus 7 is 9. 9 plus 5 is 14. So associative property does work for addition. All right, and remember associative property. Both things are written in the exact same order. We're just changing where our parentheses are located. Now what they want to know is, does associative property also work for subtraction, division, and multiplication? So real quick, let's just do subtraction. So let's do 2 minus 3 minus 4 minus 5. Real original, I know. So remember associative property, everything needs to be written in the exact same order. So I'm going to test this by writing these in the exact same order. The only difference is, remember, is where our parentheses are located. So on this one, let's put a parentheses here. And on this one, let's put our parentheses here. All right, so let's just change where they're at, and let's see if that does anything different. First thing, change all of our signs. So we get that. We get -4. We get -5. All right. So let's see. We always do what's in parentheses first. So that gives me a -1. -1 plus -4 is -5. -5 and -5 is a -10. So that's what we get when we put our parentheses here. What if I put my parentheses over here? Well, let's change our signs. So there's that. That becomes a -3. And then we're going to change the sign of whatever is inside of here. So we're going to save this for now. So let's see. 4 plus -5 is a -1. And then I'm going to just rewrite everything. So there's that opposite of symbol. There's my -3 plus 2. So let's see. So now let's change this. And I get a +1. So remember this, I just kind of saved until I found out what the answer to this parentheses was. Or you could have done this, the opposite of everything inside. You could have changed all these then. Let's see, 2 plus -3 is -1. -1 and +1 gives me 0. So associative property does not work for subtraction. All right. So the key to remember about associative property is both, everything's written in the same order. We just put the parentheses in a different place. So to save us some time, it does not work for division, but associative property does work for multiplication, and we showed earlier where it works for addition. So these two things that we have talked about so far, commutative property works for addition and multiplication, and associative property only works for addition and multiplication. All right, recap, and then we're done with this question. Commutative property means I can mix up the order. Order doesn't matter. I'll get the same answer. Only works for addition and multiplication. Associative property means I write them in the exact same order. I just put the parentheses in different spots. And we found out that it works for addition, it works for multiplication, it does not work for division or subtraction.